way there. Quick! If it falls, we'll never get this building up on time.
Look, don't stop this machine to oil it. Just find the little lubricating cups.
Scalpel. Hemostat. Sponge.
And I'm sure the court will agree that the doctrine of separate but equal is a clear violation of the rights set forth in the Constitution of the United States.
Mrs. Green, as president of this bank, I guarantee that your investment will be protected.
Doctors, lawyers, inventors, bankers, construction workers, factory hands. These are the voices of some of the people who helped build industrial America. Black voices, black builders. Their accomplishments are part of our everyday lives. But too often, white America has forgotten their names. The name of the doctor who invented the blood bank, a black doctor. The name of the first woman bank president, a black woman. The name of the first man to reach the North Pole, a black explorer. The name of the man who drew up the plans for an amazing invention called the telephone, a black man. The name of the man who invented the traffic light, a black man. Whatever the problems, in the worst and the best of times, black men and women in their day made news. Some made history. All helped make America.
After the Civil War, free blacks and former slaves began to experience black unity. Till then, the one thing that bound most blacks together was slavery. Once slavery ended, new forces united blacks, new likenesses. They were oppressed. They needed jobs. They needed homes. Blacks soon learned there was a big difference between being unified and being organized. Isaac Myers understood the difference. He knew that unity plus organization could mean more and better jobs. That's why Myers organized black laborers under the protection of the National Labor Union.
In December 1869, Isaac Myers met with a large group of black workers and labor leaders. They organized the Negro National Labor Union. Myers was elected its first president. On January 1st, 1870, the Union adopted a platform that emphasized education and equal rights.
Education is one of the strongest safeguards, the bulwark of American citizens, and a defense against the invasion of the rights of man. Its liberal distribution to all is necessary for the well-being and advancement of society. The government of the United States is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And all men are equal in political rights. No laws should be made by any legislative body to the advantage of one class and against the interest and advantages of the other.
The Negro Union was not strong. Its demands for equality among black and white workers were largely ignored. But through his union, Myers kept up the fight to secure a foothold for the black laborer.
Is there a necessity for the colored mechanics and laborers of the United States organizing? My answer is, there is the greatest necessity. And unless you do organize, in a few short years the trades will pass from your hands. You will become the servants of servants, the sweeper of shavings, the scrapers of pitch, and the carriers of mortar. I know if you do organize, you will preserve your labor, command employment, and educate your children in the trade.
House in our band, you shall gain the victory. We call for valiant-hearted man. You might gain the day. March on, Lord, and you...
While Myers started a union to protect black laborers, other blacks also were organizing to protect their people under the Constitution. In 1868, as Reconstruction took hold in the South, hundreds of black delegates at state conventions rewrote Southern constitutions to correct Jim Crow practices. Samuel J. Lee, Speaker of the South Carolina House of Representatives in 1874, described programs black legislators had helped start.
It is very pleasing, gentlemen, to witness how rapidly the schools are springing up in every portion of our state, and how the number of competent, well-trained teachers are increasing. Our university has been renovated and made progressive. New professors, men of unquestionable ability and erudition, now fill the chairs once filled by men who were too aristocratic to instruct colored youths. The state normal school is also situated here, and will have a fair attendance of scholars. And in the different cities and large towns of the state, schoolhouses have been built. The effects of education can also be perceived. The people are becoming daily more enlightened. Their minds are expanding, and they have awakened in a great degree from the mental darkness that hitherto surrounded them.
Samuel J. Lee was a self-educated sawmill worker who became one of the most respected criminal lawyers in South Carolina. He was president of the Board of Trustees of the University of South Carolina, the first black man to hold such a position. During the 1870s, state governments earned bad reputations. They were often corrupt. Black politicians blamed white politicians, and white politicians blamed black politicians. Among the important black politicians were Robert Elliott, Francis Cardoza, Richard Kane, Robert DeLarge, Joseph Rainey, Jefferson Long, Alonzo Ranzier, Jonathan Gibbs, and Oscar Dunn. These men tried to reshape the South into a place where blacks and whites could live as equals.
With the country back together again after the Civil War, our industry and our strength quickly grew. This meant new opportunities for blacks as well as whites. The year was 1872.
Telegram for Elijah McCoy. Thank you, son. I'll take it. It's from the U.S. Patent Office. They want to see me about my new invention.
Sit down, Mr. McCoy. Tell me more about your lubricating cups and about yourself.
I took my training as a mechanical engineer in Scotland. I worked with a lot of machinery, and it bothered me how the big machine needed to be oiled. So I got to thinking, and I came up with my lubricating cups. Put these in your locomotives, steam boilers, and factory machinery, and you can keep them running full speed while they lubricate themselves. Saves time and money, and they work.
Elijah McCoy's lubricating cups did work. His patents changed the course of industry in America. The cups permitted factory machines to run continuously for long stretches, increasing production and cutting costs. They were used in textile mills, steel mills, lumber mills, on steam locomotives and steam boilers. Other people tried to copy McCoy's invention. That led to the birth of a famous American saying.
Good morning, Mr. Granger. What can I do for you?
Hello, Tom. I came over to pick up a batch of lubricating cups. Got any in stock?
Oh, yes, I've got these.
Oh, wait a minute. I want the real McCoy. I don't want any imitations.
The real McCoy, eh? All right, Mr. Granger. Right over here.
The real McCoy. Elijah McCoy not only invented lubricating cups, he invented the best lubricating cups. And they are still being used today. Improved and better than ever. Before he died, McCoy was awarded more than 75 patents for all kinds of inventions.
Other black inventors also achieved fame. Lewis Howard Latimer grew up selling newspapers in the streets of Boston. After serving in the Navy in the Civil War, Latimer returned to his hometown to work as an office boy in a company of patent lawyers. He learned drafting quickly and soon became chief draftsman for the company. In 1876, Latimer met Alexander Graham Bell.
And so, Mr. Latimer, I would ask that you join with me in my work. I desperately need a man of your special talents to draw plans and prepare applications for the inventions I am devising.
One of those inventions was the telephone. It was Latimer who drew up the original plans. Latimer and Hiram S. Maxim invented a new kind of light bulb. Then Latimer worked with Thomas Edison as a member of the famous Edison pioneers. The light bulb, the telephone. We take these things for granted today, and we all know the names of Thomas Edison and Alexander Graham Bell. Add the name Louis Latimer to your list.
Granville T. Woods was another black inventor during the same time as McCoy and Latimer. Woods invented a telegraph system for sending messages between two moving trains, cutting down on accidents. He invented automatic air brakes, an important safety device. He helped develop the third rail, the rail that supplies electricity to commuter trains across the country. In 1888, the American Catholic Tribune called Woods the greatest electrician in the world.
One black inventor was not recognized for his genius in his own time.
Jan Metzellicher?
Yes, I'm Matt Zeliger.
Well, we're from the United States Patent Office, Mr. Metzelliger. We have here a set of drawings that you sent to our office for patent approval. They pose problems for us. We can't figure them out.
That's right. Our office sent us here to look at your machine. A shoe-lasting machine, is it?
Gentlemen, let me explain. Let's move into my workshop and I'll demonstrate my machine. You see, this machine makes most of the shoe, sole, heel, tongue, in 1 minute. This means that the industry can produce shoes 100 times faster than they ever could before.
The men from the patent office reported that Jan Metzelliger had invented a marvelous machine, but Metzelliger was not a shrewd businessman. The United Shoe Company bought the patent from him for only $40,000. But the patent revolutionized the shoe industry and was worth millions to United Shoe. Jan Metzelliger died in 1889, like many inventors, poor and unknown.
Blacks also made history in science and medicine. In 1893, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams was the first doctor to perform open-heart surgery on a living human being. In 1893, open-heart surgery was a dramatic step to take.
Dr. Williams, now I know you are determined to go through with this operation, but I think you are making a mistake. If your operation fails, you will ruin your reputation and the reputation of this hospital.
Dr. Marsh, this man is dying. I believe that I can save him. I must try. We will begin by opening the thoracic cavity.
The operation was a success. The patient soon went home and lived a normal life for 20 more years. The first human being to survive a heart operation. From that moment on, 35-year-old black Dr. Daniel Hale Williams became a famous man. Two black women were making news, too, at the turn of the century. A time when women, no matter what their color, were expected to stay at home and out of the headlines. Both women were named Walker. Both rose to the top in American business. Miss C.J. Walker built an empire in cosmetics. Here's how she described her start.
I was born a little after the Civil War, and my parents died when I was about 6. They were once slaves in Louisiana. When I was 14, I married C.J. Walker, but he died when I was 20, and I took in laundry to make a living after that. I used to experiment with certain oils to take the curl out of my hair, but all it did was soften it. Then I invented a straightening comb in 1905, and millions of Negro women wanted one. I opened up a beauty school, had salesmen selling all kinds of cosmetics that I invented, and even had a factory to make all the things. I guess you could say I was pretty successful.
C.J. Walker was successful. 2,000 agents sold her Madam Walker's cosmetics, manufactured in factories that employed hundreds of black workers. At times, Madam Walker was paying over $200,000 a year in salaries, a big business in anyone's book. But she was also concerned with the victims of poverty. She donated $100,000 to build a girls' academy in West Africa and gave other large donations to black charities in America. She died in 1939, but Madam Walker's beauty products today are still a household word for millions of black women.
The other Walker was Maggie Lena Walker, born in Richmond, Virginia in 1867. Maggie Walker became the first woman bank president in America. Like C.J. Walker, Maggie Walker had a poor start. By 1889, she had worked her way up to executive secretary of an investment club. The club grew and prospered in her 35 years as secretary. In 1902, Maggie Walker started her own bank, the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank. The bank reflected Maggie's interest in helping those who first helped themselves. She encouraged people to save and gave financial aid to those who were able to save.
Maggie Walker. She used her influence and her resources to help black people when no others would help. Her unselfishness won her many friends and the lasting respect of all blacks. Both races look back at her as a concerned, industrious woman who overcame two business barriers: being a woman and being black.
I've been buked and I've been scorned.
Between the times of Isaac Myers and Maggie Lena Walker, the United States fought two wars: the Spanish-American War in 1898 and World War I from 1917 to 1919. In each war, black men fought for America. When they came home, they found their contributions to their country were ignored or taken for granted. In a country where white men set the rules, black men found it hard, but not impossible, to succeed.
There were architects like Albert J. Castle, Hilliard R. Robinson, and Paul Williams.
Scientists like Ernest E. Just, Lloyd Augustus Hall, Percy L. Julian, and George Washington Carver, whose experiments with peanuts opened up a vast new industry.
Educators like Hallie Quinn Brown, Mary McLeod Bethune, Ambrose Caliver, William A. Hinton, and William Pickens.
Labor leaders like Willard S. Townsend and A. Philip Randolph.
Political figures like Charles W. Anderson, delegate to the United Nations, William L. Dawson and Oscar DePriest, congressmen from Illinois, Robert N.C. Nix, congressman from Pennsylvania, and James Weldon Johnson, author and diplomat.
1941, another war, World War II. Again, black troops fought at the front lines and dreamed of returning home to a better America. Again, they were disappointed and angry. After 75 years of freedom, their dreams were still unfulfilled.
Dr. Charles Drew, a black surgeon and medical researcher, was a dramatic example of the prejudice that had become a part of American life. Dr. Drew developed ways of preserving blood plasma. During World War II, he organized the first blood bank, an innovation that saved the lives of thousands of servicemen. In 1950, while he was chief surgeon and head of a staff at Freedman's Hospital in Washington, D.C., Dr. Drew was involved in a car accident.
Careful now. Ease him onto that stretcher. Get him into the ambulance and drive to the nearest hospital.
But the nearest one's a white hospital. They won't let him in.
There's no time to waste. If we don't get him to the hospital, he'll bleed to death. We have an injured man here. Help me get him into the emergency room.
Sure. Just, hey, wait a minute. You can't bring that Negro in here. What do you think this is?
This man's bleeding bad. If he's not treated right away, he'll die.
Sorry, buddy. You just came to the wrong place. He looks all right to me. Why don't you just take him to the county hospital or something?
Oh, for God's sake. Come on, Pete. We don't have time to stand here arguing with this creep. How does he look, Doctor?
I'm sorry. There is nothing I can do. He's lost too much blood.
Dr. Charles Drew died that night in North Carolina. Discrimination and ignorance cost the life of a man who had spent the greater part of it saving the lives of others.
But black achievements continued as scientists, inventors, businessmen, doctors, politicians, lawyers, and as a Supreme Court justice. In 1967, Thurgood Marshall became the first black justice of the United States Supreme Court. As director of the Legal Defense Fund of the NAACP, Justice Marshall, in 1954, argued and won the famous Brown case that declared school segregation unconstitutional.
Black men in this country through the years have taken the hard road to fame and success. It's a road often blocked by prejudice. It's a road narrowed by poor education. A road kept open by black achievements. It's a road that can take men as far as their talents permit, if white fears and hates and black fears and hates can be pushed aside. Today, an increasing number of Americans of all colors are working toward that goal.